Hi everyone. Goddess Radical Self-Love, you know. Oh, yes, we are working on Chapter 16's Coloring Cleanse with Grab Your Miss or Mr. MECA to release blockages with me for Lonnie or for yourselves. Yes, so let's get right into it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with me. I have just been like so, like energy-wise. Like throat issues, just kind of my energy is like, but it's been really like snowy and cold, and I kind of just want to like go hibernate. So I think I'm gonna start at Planet Fitness next week so I can get back in the groove. Yes. So the snake that never sheds, she will be heard. She's being heard. Yes, so chapter 16. It was only the one time. So remember, we left off on GJ. And that whole deal where he didn't contact me when he got out, or Lonnie. And yeah, so I'm going to start from the top down this time, since we did have consciousness entering in the form of my beautiful baby. So, and yes, we are listening to Beth on Spotify under Goddess Radical Self-Love if you want to listen to. That's what I'm listening to. I like the song. Breathe in, breathe out. Visit White Iverson, Grace Mitchell. So, of course, when everyone found out, all I could hear was, "I told you so." I mean, obviously, everybody was going to say that. The only ones who didn't say that, but just let me cry and talk about it, were MC, my youngest sister, and surprisingly, ST. It actually wasn't too hard not to cry all the time because of Orion. She was just so perfectly precious. No matter what I would smile when I looked at her. Did I really have that much to complain about with her in my arms? Very quickly, my mind spun to it was GJ's loss, not ours. Yeah, and that is definitely how I felt, because after, like, I mean, I guess I would say I felt more like stupid, taken advantage of, like, manipulated, than, like, heartbroken or something. It was like, is that really who you wanted, or, I mean, he was really, obviously, I was attracted to him, but he had a lot of demons going on, so it wasn't like I didn't understand that. And it was kind of like, yeah, even though I went through a hard time, kind of got, you know, in some ways my head was on straighter, or I had clear intentions. At least I knew what I wanted. Even if I didn't get exactly what I wanted, I knew what I wanted. So sometimes that, to me, matters more. Because it's the intention that counts, really. And I know he had a lot of pressures from other people to be a certain type of way. And for some people, it's really hard to break out of that. But I guess in my life, I had to kind of like not become a new person, but be able to stand on my own so many times that for me, whenever I saw somebody not being able to, I kind of thought they were like, well, I don't want to say, I was going to say, you know, just weak. I'll say that. Okay. Yeah. Two weeks went by when I decided it was time to get my things. Sorry, I have to change this. You guys already know I already do this all the time. ST and I finally both had the same day off, so we made the trip together as planned. It wasn't much of a surprise to find GJ's ex waiting there for me. I think they probably had been talking during the time we were talking, like while he was gone, so whatever. His sisters were there also, saying sorry whenever they could without GJ seeing or hearing them. Because they already, you know, knew her and anyway, and knew how they worked together, which was not ideal. And I mean, well, from what I knew of her, she was a pretty selfish person and, you know, didn't mind hurting other people, and I don't like hurting other people, so I guess who would you want your brother to be with, you know? But it was kind of like she's kind of one of his addictions too, I guess, maybe to that life too. I don't know for sure, but I know it's hard to break free from all of it unless you cut off contact with every part. So at least that's what I found for myself. Like, if I needed to stop doing something that was not in my best interest, it wasn't just that one thing I needed to break away from. It was like people, situations, environments, you know, lots of things. Not just, you can't just quit one thing that has a bad, you know, puts you in a bad state or mind frame, takes you away from your mission or, you know, your true self, your true character. A was foul-mouthed as ever, calling me every name in the book. And of course, how stupid I was for actually thinking GJ would want me over her. We literally were never in a competition. Like, it was never like that. I never saw her, and we never saw each other while I was seeing him ever. So it wasn't definitely like that. We never were in contact, nothing. Just some sort of smart ass shit she needed to say because she got him after I served the time with him. Lucky her. Really, I should have probably not said it like that because he's not a bad person. You know, I mean, I'm sure anybody he's with would be lucky to be with him now. I know his life is much different and he fought for his maybe independence from that whole scene. And it takes a lot of strength. So I'm really proud of him. Anytime somebody can break away from all that addictions and behaviors surrounding it, super proud of them. So self-sabotage. GJ was more interested in who ST was, asking if he was my new boyfriend or had I been cheating on him the entire time, which you guys know I was not. Nice response when your girlfriend is trying to intimidate me with her whole winning attitude. All ST did was run in and grab my 42-inch TV that weighed almost as much as I did and threw it into my new car as quickly as he could. Yeah, he was a little surprised because he wasn't my boyfriend and we weren't even that close of friends. We just saw each other at work. We had never even hung out, so it was kind of like, who are these people and why are they freaking out at me? We were in and out in less than 10 minutes. My sister MC was watching Orion because I was worried about something like this happening. Obviously, I made the right call for once. ST couldn't believe I had been involved with these kinds of people. I had even been involved with these kinds of people, and it's like these kinds of people because, you know, they're not bad people. They're just, we were young and dumb and whatever. All we wanted to do was grab my things and leave. There never had to be any conversation or confrontation. I'm going to say that too. On the way home, I was going on and on about how stupid I was. Kind of feel bad for me saying that. I mean, I was just a little girl who was confused. And yeah, you can't control other people. So, I mean, I was coming from a good place, but not if I'm calling myself bad names for whatever, you know. All I could do was talk about everything I thought GJ was, you know, how I thought he was going to be there and everything, who I thought he was. When I continued with my thoughts of how I wouldn't be able to be in another relationship for a long, long time, I thought ST was about to stop the car in the middle of the freeway. I remember his words so clearly, even to this very day. Still do. I'm like, let's clear out these blockages. I mean, I do actually broke my pencil because I'm really frustrated. Just kidding. I do respect when people know what they want, though. I still do today because, I mean, your intentions mean something. I'm a master manifester. Obviously, I know what I want. So, I mean, him knowing what he wanted made me kind of go, but maybe it was for a different purpose, you know, like if I had been paying attention and like going, oh, maybe I should use that in my life, not, oh, maybe this is the guy I should be with or whatever. I mean, like letting him in a way intimidate me in a weird way, you know, like he knew what he was doing. He always knows what he's doing because he's definitely a master manipulator, that's for sure. I mean, he was back then, and I think like addicts actually are pretty good at it. They learn they need to be. I mean, because nobody would put up with their BS if they didn't. Sorry. But, I mean, at least the ones I've been around from my personal experience, you know, it comes kind of with the territory almost, like, to be a master manipulator, because you need to get your fixes on somehow, and the same people aren't going to buy it forever, and you have to figure out ways to make them do it long enough to be feeling supported, I guess, in your habits. So I remember his words so clearly, even to this day. Well, Lonnie, let me tell you right now, I really like you. You deserve so much better. You and Orion need a man in your life. Not only a little boy like GJ who doesn't know what he wants or needs. I'm 27 years old and I'm ready to settle down. I want a wife and a family. And if that's not what you're looking for in me, then this will be the last time we need to see one another. I'm too old to play games and I don't want to date someone that is afraid of falling in love again. I mean, for me, at 19, I was like, especially after I just like was with somebody who couldn't figure out what they wanted. I guess it kind of looked attractive. I was so taken back by what he said. First of all, I had no clue that he was even interested in me more than a friend. I mean, he was so much older. He was almost 30, and I wasn't even 20 yet. But most shocking was how he was speaking to me. No one had ever talked to me like that before. So honest about what they wanted, and point blank, it was me. Seemed attractive. In an odd way. I sat quietly the rest of the way home. For the next few days, I thought about what ST had said to me, but I was still waiting for the phone to ring and have GJ beg for my forgiveness. After a week or so had passed, I realized that I could be sitting there waiting for a phone call that most likely would never happen. ST kept calling just to see how I was doing. Finally, I asked him if he wanted to get together. We began talking daily on the phone and visiting at his mother's home. Yeah. I mean, I do have to say, ST is very charismatic, and he can definitely talk small talk all day long and keep you laughing, so it's not like it was hard to talk to him. You know, I used to really, like, that used to be one of my, like, main things. I wanted, like, this funny guy, but it just seems like every time I was with or drawn to this funny guy, it was like they never could turn it off. They could not be serious, hardly ever, and that ends up, like, they don't take life seriously enough for me. Like, I know it's not supposed to be serious, but I'm a serious person. I can't help it. I mean, I'm hilarious. I'm really super funny. I love, you know, like, playing around and joking and everything, but there's a time and place for it, you know. That is one thing that bothered me. He was still living at his mother's. Somebody who really knows what they want and was so direct about it, you'd think you know, wouldn't be living at their mother's. But I wasn't putting those things together then. He did put a very convincing spin on that whole situation. He, being the only man around for years, needed to help take care of the home for his mother and help out with his 2 younger sisters still in high school. Almost every time we spent time together, Orion was right there with us. I was still nursing her, and since I was also working, I liked to spend every moment of my free time with her. ST didn't mind at all. He actually wanted her there. If he wasn't begging to hold her, his sisters TT and LT were. Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, my oldest son doesn't live with me. He actually lives with her, PM, so, and he really does help her and cares for her because she's sick right now, so he's her caregiver, and, you know, it made sense to me, and it was actually kind of like, oh, well, that's so sweet that you take care of your family, but I didn't realize it was more of the other way around, you know. Not that I'm being like, I'm not trying to be judgy, I'm just placing everything back the way it was. Yeah. He needed to help take care of his mother and help out with his 2 sisters still in high school. Almost every time, oh, I already read this, sorry. I already read all that. Oh my gosh, I don't know how to get this all back there. S2's family was almost too good to be true. Everyone was so positive and supportive of one another, at least on first appearances. We all have issues in families. Don't let anybody fool you. His mother, Pam, was beautiful, strong, business-minded, yet I could already see a bit controlling. More than a little bit. But in her defense, after years of being a single parent and constantly disappointed by men in her and her children's lives, it's quite understandable. She was just concerned for her children and wanted them to be successful. The demands on a single working mother are so overwhelming. I think at times she must have felt she needed to orchestrate her children's worlds and her own perfectly, or she may risk having it all come crashing down. TT, ST's sister, 10 years his junior and the same age as my sister TA. They actually had a lot in common, her and my sister. Specifically displaying the typical middle child syndrome. Her high demands for attention were easily spotted. She would constantly complain when asked to do any small task, but she expected the world from her mother, an opportunist with mastery of manipulation. TT was a bit overweight, the only one with any weight concerns, definitely weighed heavily on her self-esteem, deflected by constant judgment and criticism of others. Really bad. Complex aside, she enjoyed cheerleading and was extremely popular with multiple girlfriends who were much more affluent than her mother, yet expected the same lifestyle, and she got it handed to her on a silver platter. Nothing like living out your glory days in high school. Although if you could look past all her selfish, immature demands, you'd see someone with a very gentle heart who cares deeply about others. She really just wants to fit in and be accepted. Her real issues are her own self-love and self-acceptance, just like everyone else's. That's why I teach radical self-love. I mean, we have to be real. But yeah, her and my sister, TA, definitely had a lot in common. It's like a jealousy factor, you know. LT, the youngest sibling, the same age as my sister MC, most often was left in the shadows of her sister, mother, and ST's overpowering personalities. LT was constantly trying to live up to her mother's expectations. She is by all accounts yin to her sister TT's yang. LT is super sweet, genuine, trustworthy, loyal, and definitely hardworking. A serene soul amongst the chaos of the world. Her presence is a gift. Yeah, she is like, you know, was always the one doing the chores, always the one that was, you know, called on for the help because you knew, or at least the mom knew it was going to get done, or TT would take credit for it or make her sister do it. So it was, yeah, it's like that. At least from what I witnessed. And, you know, LT was more like the mediator all the time. She just wanted everybody to get along and didn't want any like controversy or people arguing. And she just like kind of was more like go with the flow type person, you know, just wanted everybody to be happy. And if that meant her doing all the work, then she'd do all the work. A month passed by when I finally did receive a phone call. I had previously been so aching to get the phone call. GJ, he of course apologized and proclaimed his love. He said how he knows, how he knew now I was the only one who was truly there for him. That I truly knew who he was and not all of this bad boy facade. I told him there was no way I could put my daughter or myself in the situation of being with someone who is afraid of being themselves, having to live up to others' ideas of who they think he is. I wouldn't let him drag me down any further. He had plenty of time behind bars to make a decision of where we would fit into his life. I trusted him and I was proven wrong. He wasn't the man he promised Orion and myself. I didn't know who he was. He then begged for my friendship and nothing more, although he needed my help right now, that I was the only one who could help him. I needed to go to his father's place in Wisconsin because he was about to do something very stupid. I asked why. He said, just get here or I will run. Basically, if he did run, the cops would immediately be notified from his ankle bracelet and he'd go back to prison. I honestly believed him and said I'd call him right back. You know, and I do, like, I think he did actually take off. So he wasn't just saying that. But, you know, it's like, I guess this feeling of feeling maybe like I could save people, or like having them believe that I was the only one who could help for some reason is what, not that I made them feel, but I guess that they were comfortable with me more than anybody else just being their true self, because I was. So, especially after all that time we spent with the letters and, you know, like, I did want to be there for him, but I understood, like, at that point I probably wasn't helping him anymore, or couldn't help him because he made that apparent when he got out, you know, by making the choices he did. But if I could have, I would have probably gone there and helped him get through it. But, I mean, then what happens the next day, you know, or the next week? I couldn't be driving out to Wisconsin all the time to help him, you know, and yeah. But I was grateful that he trusted me, you know, and I didn't want to, ruin that part of it, I guess. Um, I wanted him to still have me so that he could still, as a friend, have somebody who knew his true self or true intentions, like what he really wanted out of life. I wanted to check in with ST just to make sure he understood I would only be going to Wisconsin as a friend for GJ, and I would not be taking Orion. He asked me to come over to his mom's place so we could talk more, and if I still decided to go, he would watch the baby for me. When I got to his home about a half an hour later, his tune had completely changed. ST told me if I left, then that would be it between us. I had to make a decision, him or GJ. I honestly wouldn't have gone back to GJ regardless of seeing him. I already had made that decision. I felt safe with ST, but now that he was making me choose in such a demeaning way all of a sudden, I felt sad and stifled, like I was being told I couldn't be myself. I couldn't even care about GJ no matter what level. With my newfound sadness in my heart, I picked up the phone and said my final goodbye to GJ with ST hovering over me. I'm still not liking that. Like, I just don't think anybody should be choosing who you're friends with, ever. You know, I mean, if I would have been, like, the goddess of radical self-love, I would have been like, sorry, see ya. I'm going to do what I want to do, what I feel like I need to do, and that's just deal with it, or see ya, you know, like, don't allow anybody, I'm not ever going to allow anybody to tell me again who I can and can't be friends with, who I can and cannot help when I want to, or when I feel like that's where I'm supposed to be. I'm going to do what is right for me. And if they don't like it, then that's on them. It has nothing to do with me. I don't need their approval. And yes, that's the way I live my life now. So, I mean, obviously, I think that it's important to be honest, but even then, if you feel like you can't be honest, it's probably somebody you shouldn't be around, you know? Or if you feel like you're going to get in trouble for doing what you believe you should be doing, then you shouldn't probably be around them. The ultimatums like, do it or else, that kind of crap is exactly that, crap, you know? I don't like people lying about anything they are doing. So, like, if you can't be honest about it with somebody, if they can't handle the truth, then tell them goodbye. I mean, I know it's easier said than done, but it's better than lying. You know, you can always work through people's feelings, but they shouldn't have control over you. I mean, even if you're like together married, it should still be like open dialogue. This is what I want to do, and this is why I want to do it, and same thing, you know? And you're not going to tell me what I want to do. I'm going to do what I need to do for me, you know? I mean, it's not the same for everyone, I know, but for me, that's how it is. You can't deal with it, too bad. If you can't trust me when I'm being honest, then that's on you. Within a week after the phone call, ST decided it was time to move out of his mother's house if we were ever going to get anywhere in this relationship. He asked around at Target if anyone was looking for a roommate. Not exactly what I had in mind. I mean, if we're going to be having a family, it doesn't make sense to move in with another family, I thought. Especially into a one-bedroom. How was that going to work out so well? At this point, I still didn't know ST didn't have a license, so he needed someone he could ride with to work. Again, hiding, manipulation, hiding things. Yeah. Same thing as lying. His friend Elle, a single mother who was working 3 different jobs to pay for her son's private schools, had a spare room. The weekend he moved in was our first time together intimately. He never pushed the issue. I am the one who wanted it. I'm a very sexual person, and it was driving me crazy. I had just had a baby 4 months earlier, so I suppose I just wanted to feel wanted in that way again. I mean, I guess it had been like a really long time. There definitely was no flame burning between us. I think I felt more uncomfortable with ST than my first time with JF. There just wasn't any chemistry. No palpitating heartbeat, no butterflies in my tummy, no passion. It just felt wrong. It was all over very quickly. Yeah. Yeah. To celebrate ST's new home, we decided to make a night of it by going to Applebee's. Classy, I know. I wasn't trying to say anything about Applebee's. We really like it. A little salty for me, but whatever. We had brought one of our mutual girlfriends from Target, T. Everything was going smoothly until ST's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde switched positions. He started getting louder and louder, basically embarrassing me every time he opened his mouth. And you guys know by now how sensitive I am, so it was like, I don't like loud places, and I really am annoyed with loud people sometimes because it bothers me. Sorry. I was only 19, so I had nothing to drink and was watching the sweet guy turning into a total asshole. Now I saw once again the guy who told me to choose him over being myself. After a while, I had had enough, and so did our friend. We told ST we were leaving, and he became very angry. When we got to the parking lot, he came running out after us. As he grabbed my wrist, he tripped and fell, taking me down with him. I begged him to just let me go. ST stood up and started dragging me by my hair to go back into the bar with him on the ground, dragging me. Obviously completely out of his mind at this point. T had grabbed his cell phone that had fallen in all the commotion. I screamed to her to call his mother. She lived a few miles away and was there in no time. She put him in the back of her car and then convinced me to go home with her so we could talk. With a lot of hesitation, I finally agreed. It's hard to say no to PM. It was silent on the way to her home. She took ST in and got him to lay down, then came to me in the upstairs formal living room. I mean, she just, I think, wanted to explain, you know, like really where he was at. She wasn't like trying to be mean or anything. She was just being real at that point. She was used to taking care of him, not him of her. But I guess the enablers kind of does the same thing both ways, you know. PM began the conversation by telling me to leave her son alone, that he wasn't well enough to be in a relationship because of his alcoholism. She told me of his multiple DUIs, his broken personality, and broken personal relationships. Basically, her son was a mess and needed a lot of help. I did believe she was speaking to me from a good place, pure, genuine concern for my daughter and I. She was a very easy person to talk to, and I in turn entrusted her with some of where I had just come from myself. Yeah, and that, well, now it's funny because I'm telling everyone, but I would say I did that on a regular basis, and a lot of times it got used against me. People throwing things back in my face from the things that had happened to me in my childhood. Yeah. A few hours into our conversation, after I had settled into her daughter's bed for the night, a drunken beast appeared in the shadows. It was ST declaring his love for me through the slurs of his intoxication. When I told him I would no longer be seeing him, he went completely crazy. ST ran up to the kitchen and grabbed a butcher's knife. He ran back downstairs to my presence as he blatantly slid the knife down his wrists. PM heard my cries and immediately called the police. The cuts were superficial and were bandaged up before they hauled ST off to detox. I asked PM to bring me back to my car so I could go home to Orion. For the next few days, ST would try calling multiple times. On accident, I answered one of them. He said he just wanted to explain how sorry he was and that he didn't remember anything of what had happened. He sounded so sincere and told me he knew he needed help and would stop drinking if I decided to continue being a part of his life. I had really never dealt with an alcoholic before, so I didn't realize it takes more than someone special to keep you away from the bottle. I agreed to come pick him up from detox so we could talk some more. I mean, at that point it was like, I wasn't really interested in him like that. He was just like, had nobody else and sounded really desperate, and, you know, his mom was furious and swore she was never going to talk to him like so many billion of other times. So it wasn't like I was like, hey, you know, even if he was acting all in love or something, it didn't really matter to me because I was just like, whatever, I'll be here to be supportive, but I really wasn't looking for anything else, to be honest. I just felt like he needed help or a friend. In the next couple of weeks, we talked, mostly on the phone. I was still quite scared of him, and I didn't want to be around someone who was going through such a personal hell. Didn't I just leave that? But I did want to be there for support. Then one afternoon, we had plans to meet for lunch. I tried to smoke a cigarette on my way over to his place and started feeling really nauseous. It wasn't getting any better after I ate either. When I got back into the car to drive home, the nausea really took over and I kept having to pull over to vomit. All at once it hit me. Maybe I was pregnant. I prayed to God this wasn't the case. I called ST crying. He said to come over right away and we would get a test. It was only one time. I thought because I was still nursing Orion, there was no way I was pregnant. There's no way this could be happening. I mean, I loved being a mother. I loved Orion with all my heart, but to go through everything I just went through alone again, this isn't the way it was supposed to be. I wanted to be in love, get married, and then one day be able to share a pregnancy with the one I would forever hold on to and they me. I wanted it to be special. It still makes me upset that I never got that. So I took the test more afraid of anything I had ever been afraid of in my life. Pregnant. Orion was only 4 months old. I 19, and the baby's father an alcoholic. What a life I was making for myself. I guess the parents had been right all along. I was stupid. I would never amount to anything. I would never get the chance to prove anyone wrong. Poor white trash forever. An unwed mother of 2 at 19 years old. I told ST not to tell anyone yet. I needed time to think of what I was going to do. He pleaded with me not to do anything crazy. He told me he wanted to be a father more than anything in this world, and he stopped drinking weeks ago now. ST said he loved Orion, the little one I was carrying, and me. He told me we could get married, and I could have everything I dreamed of. I explained again, no matter what, he wasn't allowed to tell anyone. Yeah, that was a pretty difficult time. But I mean, I have a way of, luckily I have a way of being able to find acceptance pretty easily in the choices that I'm given or what the universe brings to me. Um, I assimilate easy, I guess. Um, After I had some time to myself, I decided to keep the baby. I just couldn't bring myself to end a life, especially when I could feel my love for the life forming inside of me. I felt like I already knew them, and during my dreams could hear the whispers of assurance that we would be okay, that they chose me. Like I could see each one of my children while I was pregnant, so in my dreams, and they would talk to me. So it's like, yeah, we already had started forming this bond, and I loved him. And he was right. Everything would be okay. I love my babies, so I don't regret them. But I do wish it was handled differently. Like I wish it could have been like where I could have been with like one person to raise them, and have that whole bond. I went to the doctor and found out the little one would be born the end of February. I was so embarrassed I had gotten pregnant. I told no one. In the next couple of months, Orion and I had begun spending more of our time at STs. It was nice to be able to get away from the craziness of the parents. The mother now had regressed back to previous childhood memories, screaming and throwing things as the father sat in front of the TV in a state of oblivion. My sister TA was working constantly, and when she wasn't, she was bitching about anything she could find that day to bitch about. MC was hardly ever home and had dropped out of school to pursue her life in underground clubbing and ecstasy. I appealed daily with the parents and TA to try to get her some help and get MC back on the right track. They all told me I was crazy and there was no way their sweet little baby was doing anything outside of hanging with friends, and having fun like all teenagers do. Orion was astounding. She was considerably advanced for her age in every way, physically and intellectually, and she continued to never cry and sleep through the night on my schedule. I really thought being a parent was kind of a piece of cake. I did. Sorry, I dropped my pencil. I loved every moment with her. So two little human beings to love wouldn't be so bad or difficult to handle. Yeah, she was like super strong and like laughed all the time and just, sat up and rolled over before she was supposed to, crawled all over the place, was starting to stand up, like all these like things that every time she was like above the curve or whatever of where she was supposed to be, and she's just the happiest little baby in the world. It was ridiculous. It was like, I don't know, like a miracle. I'm like, this is crazy. How can this be happening? I thought babies were supposed to be difficult. But I mean, I had babysat before, so I know how it can be. And yeah, I definitely knew even after that how it could be. So it was easy for a moment. ST was a different story. I felt like I had to somehow make myself fall in love with him, but it was going to be a very difficult task. We were just so different, and I still had no attraction to him or him to me. I could parade around him totally nude, and he wouldn't even flinch, which I could understand maybe today, but back then I had a tight little body of an athlete after Orion. I for sure did not look like I had just given birth, but, like, when people have addiction issues, they're not really interested in things like sex. So, it's not like it was all me or him or whatever. So, Either way, it didn't matter. I had to make this work. He was such a great daddy to my girl, and I knew he would be to the little one coming. To be honest, I'm pretty sure ST was in love with Orion, meaning not me. He loved the idea of being a father. I just was like there as like the baby maker. Every time he saw Orion, his face would light up. Oh, my pretty, pretty princess. And that's what I wanted in a father for them. I wanted what I never had. However, the ease I felt of being a mother was all about to change drastically in a way that I would never again understand what it meant to just be a mother. I don't know. I haven't um thought about some of this stuff for so long. I guess I didn't realize that it was even still there, like that I had any pain associated to it, I guess, in the way that I'm feeling it now. Like like I said, I'm happy that everything worked out the way it did. Like, I love my kids, but it's like I understand like how hard of a time I was going through, and I didn't really have anybody to talk to about it. I didn't have anybody I felt like would understand or be able to help me make any decisions. And did I have any decisions to even make? I guess I should have said too, I did graduate. So, um, just like I only had one more credit to finish. So, when I transferred from Wisconsin to Burnsville or whatever, and I went back. So, yeah, I right around this time graduated. So, that spring after I had met ST. But, um, and I had graduated with a good grade point average and everything. But, yeah, I definitely had seen my life different than what happened. But I guess in the next chapter, it kind of takes over everything. So, next chapter pretty much dictates my life as an adult. You know, this is just like a little nugget right before it all changes so drastically. So, well, thank you all so much. I'm sorry. I'm like blowing my nose. I am always blowing my nose in front of you guys anyway, so. Thanks for going on the journey and helping me work through any blockages that are left over. So I hope you guys are as well for yourselves. It's all a learning experience, right? At least we get to take it apart so we get the lessons. I love you guys so much. Thank you for your support. And definitely reach out to me if you guys have any questions or need some support yourselves. So I love you. Have a wonderful week. We only have one chapter left, so 1 week to go. Then we're sending it off to publishers, so love you all.